The galaxy was quiet for centuries. Civilizations lived in peace, trade moved across the stars, and no one remembered the old wars. Humanity was just another small voice among thousands of species. They were not the strongest, not the richest, and not the oldest. But they were different. They had something that no other race truly understood. They fought harder when they were afraid. They rose higher when they were pushed down, on the edge of human space. A mining colony named Eos Neen floated around a dying red star. It was small, forgotten by most, but it was about to change everything. Captain Myra Cade sat in her control room watching silent scanners. Her crew was tired. For weeks, strange signals had been coming from the outer belt, patterns that didn't match any known ship. At first, they thought it was a malfunction. Then, the signals began to move closer. Mira leaned forward, her eyes on the radar. The blips appeared again, 5 of them, moving fast. She opened the comm line to her crew. Stay alert. Whatever it is, it's not one of ours. Ah! Her voice was calm, but inside, her chest tightened. The unknown was never safe in deep space. Moments later, the station shook. Lights flickered. The alarms screamed through the corridors. The scanners showed something impossible. The ships were not using engines. They moved like shadows, bending space around them. Mira had seen alien tech before, but nothing like this. Her second officer, Aaron, ran to the deck. "Captain, the outer defenses are gone. Something's cutting through the hull." Mira didn't answer. She was already watching through the camera feeds. The metal walls of the station glowed red, melting like ice under fire. Then, the first creature stepped through. It wasn't a machine, but not alive either. Its body was made of dark matter, flickering and changing shape every second. It looked like a living shadow, and its eyes glowed white. The crew fired their rifles, but the bullets passed through like smoke. The shadow turned and reached out. In one motion, Aaron vanished, pulled into the air and crushed into the ceiling. Mira screamed for everyone to fall back, sealing the inner doors. Her hands shook as she activated the emergency beacon. "This is Captain Myra Cade of Eos Neen. We are under attack. Unknown life forms, requesting immediate help, far away in human command space." The message reached Admiral Nolan. He stood silently in front of the holographic map as the signal repeated, filled with static and screams. No one had heard of Eos 9 in years, but he recognized the code. It was one of the oldest human colonies. The Admiral looked at his officers. "Send in the 7th Fleet. We're going to find out who just picked a fight with us." Back on Eos 9, Mira's last camera feed showed the shadow creatures gathering near the station's reactor. The lights dimmed, and the power dropped to 0. Everything went dark. Mira looked around at her remaining crew. Only 5 of them were left. She whispered, "If this is the end, we make it count." She pulled the reactor override and set it to overload. The shadows began to rush toward her. In the last seconds, she pressed the final command. A white light filled the room. The explosion tore through the station and lit up the dark side of the star. Every scanner across the human network caught the signal. Eos Neen was gone, but something else was born that day: fear. For the first time in centuries. The Galactic Council looked toward Earth. Reports began to spread fast. Entire fleets of unknown entities moving from the dark zones. No one knew what they were or where they came from. But everyone knew one thing. Humanity was preparing for war, and when humanity fights, the galaxy trembles. The news of Eos Neen spread like fire. Every human world received the message. People stopped their work to watch the shaky transmission from the mining colony. The signal ended with light and silence, but the fear remained. No one had ever seen creatures like that before. No one had ever seen human soldiers die so fast. Admiral Nolan stood in the war room of the United Earth Command. Around him, holograms of generals and leaders floated. Each voice tried to speak louder than the other. It could be pirates? No, it's a new alien weapon. Maybe the humans on Eos 9 caused it themselves. Nolan listened for a while, then slammed his hand on the table. Enough. We are not guessing. We are responding. The room went silent. Eosnine was human ground. Someone attacked us. We will find them. The Seventh Fleet prepared for departure. Hundreds of ships filled the orbit above Mars, glowing in the red light of the planet. The fleet carried every type of warship, destroyers, carriers, and frigates. Their engines roared as they waited for orders. Soldiers walked through metal corridors, checking armor and weapons. There was fear, but also pride. Humanity had always survived the impossible, and they would again. Among the soldiers was Lieutenant Ryan Hale, a young pilot who had joined the fleet only a year ago. He looked out at the stars from the hangar bay. "They say the attackers were made of shadows," he whispered. His friend Lena laughed nervously. "Then let's hope shadows can bleed." Their commander shouted for them to board their ships. The time for jokes was over. The fleet jumped through space, a bright flash of light marking their exit from Mars' orbit. When they arrived near the ruins of Eosnine, everything was quiet. The colony was gone. Only pieces of metal floated where the station once was. No life signs. No movement. The scanners showed strange energy readings around the debris, like space itself was twisting. "Record everything," Admiral Nolan ordered. "We're not leaving until we know what happened here." Ships spread out, scanning every rock and piece of metal. Then, suddenly, the sensors started screaming. The energy field grew stronger. Shadows appeared in the distance, moving toward the fleet. There were dozens of them, then hundreds. The same dark shapes that destroyed EOS-9, the human ships opened fire. Blue and red beams shot across space, hitting the shadows, but nothing happened. The creatures kept moving. Then one of the destroyers vanished from the radar. It didn't explode. It just disappeared, like it had never been there. The communication lines filled with panic. "They're inside our shields." "Weapons have no effect. They're eating through the hole." Nolan clenched his jaw. "All ships, form defensive circle. Keep firing." The fleet tried to fight, but the shadows moved faster than any known ship. They slipped through metal and energy as if both were air. Ryan's fighter spun through the chaos. He saw one of the shadows moving straight at him. He pulled the trigger again and again. Nothing. It passed through his ship like smoke, and for a second, everything went black. When he opened his eyes, the creature was gone, but a strange mark glowed on his ship's console. It looked like a pattern, not random at all. It was a message. Ryan stared at it, trying to understand, before the cum crackled. "Lieutenant Hale, fall back. We're retreating." He turned his ship around and saw that half of the fleet was already destroyed. The rest were jumping out. The battle was lost. Admiral Nolan's ship was the last to leave. Before jumping, he looked at the growing storm of darkness on the screen. "This isn't just an attack," he whispered. "It's a warning." The fleet jumped back to human space, leaving behind the twisted remains of ships and shadows still moving among them. When they returned, Earth Command was waiting. The losses were heavy, but the message was clear. The enemy was real, powerful, and unstoppable with current weapons. Nolan ordered all research stations to begin studying the strange symbols Ryan had recorded. Scientists worked day and night, trying to decode them, and as the days passed, new reports arrived. Other colonies, far beyond Eosnine, were going silent. Entire planets lost contact. The shadows were spreading. No one knew what they wanted, but one thing was certain. Humanity would not run forever. They had lost the first battle, but they were not broken. The fire of vengeance had begun to burn, and soon the galaxy would see what happens when humanity fights back. Weeks passed after the Battle of Eosnine. Humanity was shaken, but not broken. The loss of the Seventh Fleet spread fear across every human world. People began to ask questions. Who were the shadows? What did they want? Why did they only attack humans? In a dark research station orbiting Titan, scientists worked day and night to study the strange mark that appeared on Lieutenant Ryan Hale's ship. The symbol looked like a pattern of circles and lines, almost alive, glowing faintly in the dark. Some believed it was a language. Others thought it was a warning. Ryan sat quietly inside the lab, watching the scientists argue. He had been haunted by dreams since that battle. Every night, he saw the same thing, a burning world and voices whispering in a language he couldn't understand. The shadows weren't just attacking. They were searching for something. He could feel it. Dr. Alara Miles, the lead scientist, walked to him. "Lieutenant, you said the symbol appeared after contact with the creature. Can you describe what you felt?" Ryan hesitated. Cold, empty, like time stopped, but also something else. "I felt like it wanted to talk." Lara frowned. "Talk through your ship?" Ryan nodded. "Through me." Hours later, the symbol suddenly changed. The circles moved, forming new shapes. The scientists stared in shock. The computers detected energy spikes matching the patterns from Eosnine. Dr. Miles whispered, "It's responding to something. Maybe to him." Before they could react, the power in the station flickered. Lights went out. The emergency alarms began to ring. Ryan looked through the window. Space outside was twisting again, just like before. The shadows had found them. "Seal the lab," Alara shouted. Soldiers ran to their posts, but it was too late. The outer deck was gone in seconds. The shadows entered, flowing through metal like smoke through air. Panic filled the corridors. Ryan grabbed Alara's hand and pulled her behind the console. "We can't fight them," he said. "But maybe we can understand them." He stared at the symbol on the screen. The pattern pulsed faster, almost like a heartbeat. Ryan reached out and touched it. For a second, his vision went white. He wasn't in the station anymore. He stood in a dark void filled with stars. In front of him stood a tall, glowing figure made of light and shadow. It spoke without sound, its words echoing inside his head. "You should not have awakened us," the voice said. "Your kind touch is what must stay buried." Ryan tried to speak, but the words caught in his throat. "Who are you? Why are you attacking us?" "We are what remains of those who came before," the voice said. "Long ago, your kind was part of the same creation, but you forgot. Now, you dig too deep. You wake the dark inside the stars?" The vision ended with a flash. Ryan fell back to the floor, gasping for air. The shadows stopped moving. They stood still, waiting. Then, as suddenly as they came, they vanished into the void. The station was silent again. Only Ryan's voice broke the quiet. "They're not trying to destroy us," he whispered. "They're trying to stop us." Admiral Nolan received the report hours later. Half the Titan station was gone, but Ryan and Dr. Miles survived. Nolan read the report twice before speaking. "So they're ancient. Maybe older than the Council itself." He looked at the holographic image of the shadow patterns. "If they fear what's buried, we need to know what it is." A secret meeting was held in Earth Command. The leaders agreed to send a special team, the first contact and exploration unit known as Project Dawn. Their mission: find the source of the shadows, hidden somewhere in the dark regions beyond known space. Ryan and Alara were assigned to the team. As the ship Vanguard prepared for departure, Ryan looked out at the stars. "They think they can scare us," he said softly. "But they don't know us." Alara smiled weakly. "They will soon." The engines roared to life, and the ship vanished into the deep unknown. Behind them, Earth watched in silence, hoping this mission would find answers, or at least buy them time. But in the shadows beyond human space, something vast was waking. The dark energy of ancient worlds stirred again, and the whispering voices grew louder. The war that began at Eos 9 was only the beginning. Humanity had stepped into something far greater than anyone understood, and the galaxy would soon remember why. When humanity fights, everything trembles. The Vanguard moved through the empty dark of space. It was the most advanced ship humanity had ever built, designed for deep exploration and survival in unknown regions. Its crew was small, 20 people, hand-picked for courage and skill. At the heart of the ship sat Lieutenant Ryan Hale and Dr. Alara Miles, studying the strange energy readings that led them into the dark zone. For days they saw nothing. No stars, no light. Only black space stretching forever. It was as if they had entered another universe. Communication with Earth was weak and filled with static. Then, one night, the scanners caught something. A planet. It was massive, surrounded by rings of glowing debris. The computer marked it as uncharted, unknown in any galactic record. Captain Reese, the commander of Vanguard, gave the order. Prepare for descent. The crew gathered near the viewing deck, watching as the planet grew larger. The surface was covered with dark storms, and lightning flashed in slow motion through thick clouds. No signs of life, but strong energy readings came from deep below the crust. Ryan stared at the readings. That's the same signature we found on Titan. Whatever the shadows are, they came from here. Ilara nodded. Then this is their home. As they entered the atmosphere, the ship shook violently. Systems flickered. The control panels glowed red. The storms pulled them down faster. Alarms screamed through the corridors. Ryan and Ilara held on to the rails as the ship fought to stay steady. Finally, after a hard impact, they landed. The world outside was dark and silent. They stepped out wearing armored suits. The air was heavy and cold. The ground was made of black crystal that reflected faint blue light from the sky. Strange structures rose in the distance, tall and sharp, like frozen towers. The team began to move toward them. Every step echoed like walking on glass. As they got closer, Ilara's scanner started to buzz. There's power here, she said. Something's still alive. They reached the base of one of the towers and found carvings covering its surface. Symbols like the one that appeared on Ryan's ship. Only now they were larger, glowing faintly with white light. Ryan reached out and touched the wall. The moment his hand met the surface, the tower came alive. Light spread across the ground, connecting to other towers in the distance. The planet began to hum, a deep vibration that shook the air. The others backed away in fear, but Ryan couldn't move. His vision went white again. He was standing in a huge hall of light. Thousands of tall figures surrounded him, the same shadow-like beings, but now clearer, more human in shape. One of them stepped forward. You came, it said in a voice that echoed like thunder. You are the children who forgot. Ryan spoke slowly. What do you mean? Long before your time, our kind built the stars. We made life from dust and fire. You were part of that creation. But you turned away built weapons and destroyed the balance. We sealed the darkness within the stars to protect the galaxy. Now your machines have broken the seals. The dark is free again. Ryan's heart pounded. Then help us stop it. The figure's eyes glowed brighter. We cannot. We are the dark now. What you call shadows are the remains of what we once were. You fight ghosts, not enemies. The vision shattered. Ryan fell back, gasping. The tower lights dimmed, and the ground shook violently. The planet began to break apart. The crew ran back toward the ship. Captain, the core is unstable, Ilara shouted. We have to leave now. The Vanguard lifted off just as the surface cracked open. From beneath the crust, something massive began to rise, a structure bigger than mountains, made of pure black energy. It wasn't alive. It was a machine. A weapon. As the ship escaped the atmosphere, the crew watched in shock. The planet was collapsing, and the black machine was awakening. It sent out a pulse that spread across space like a wave. Every scanner in the galaxy picked it up. Every civilization, human and alien, saw the signal. Admiral Nolan watched the readings from Earth. What have they found? He whispered. The officer beside him turned pale. Sir, it's a weapon the size of a planet, and it's activating. Ryan looked at Ilara. We didn't find their home, he said softly. We found their prison. The Vanguard jumped into hyperspace, but the pulse was already spreading. The galaxy was no longer silent. The shadows had awakened their true power, and now, nothing could stop the coming storm. Humanity had just opened the door to its greatest war. The pulse from the dark. Planets spread through the galaxy like a storm. Every scanner, every satellite, every ship caught its signal. For a moment, stars flickered, and communication networks went silent. Then the chaos began. Entire systems lost power. Warp gates failed. Space itself started to twist and bend in strange ways. On Earth, alarms echoed through every command base. Scientists stared at the readings in disbelief. The energy wave wasn't just radiation, it was rewriting physics itself. Planets shifted orbits. Moons cracked apart. It was as if the universe was breaking under invisible hands. Admiral Nolan stood in the main control room, his face pale. "How long before it reaches us?" he asked. A young officer replied, "3 days, sir." "Maybe less." Nolan looked at the giant map of the galaxy glowing on the wall. The pulse had already reached several colonies. "Evacuate outer worlds," he ordered. "And get me the Vanguard. I want Hale and Dr. Miles back on Earth now. It's far away." The Vanguard moved through broken space, racing back toward human territory. The crew was silent. The view outside the windows showed stars bending like water. The ship's systems flickered every few minutes. Ryan sat near the control deck, staring at the planet fading behind them. "We woke it," he said quietly. "And now it's coming for all of us." Dr. Alara Miles sat beside him, typing on her console. "Maybe not," she said. "I've been analyzing the energy patterns. That machine, whatever it is, isn't random. It's searching for something specific. A signal, maybe a target." Ryan frowned. "A target." She nodded. "It could be looking for its creators, the ones who turned into the shadows." Before Ryan could reply, the ship shook violently. The sensors blared. "Something's following us," shouted the pilot. They looked at the radar. A shadow fleet, hundreds of dark forms, was closing in fast. The Vanguard's engines roared as it jumped into hyperspace again, but one of the shadows broke through and hit the hull. The lights went out. Ryan ran to the back corridor. He saw black smoke pouring through the walls, forming into a creature. Its glowing white eyes locked on him. Ilara grabbed a plasma cutter and fired. The beam passed through, but the creature shrieked and pulled back. For the first time, it seemed hurt. "That worked," Ryan said. "You hit it." Ilara looked at the cutter. "Maybe they can't stand energy from living matter." She pointed at the tool. "It runs on bioreactive fuel." The ship jumped again, escaping into safe space. The shadow vanished, but the walls were burned and twisted. They had barely survived. Ryan sent a report to Earth, including everything they learned. The message reached Admiral Nolan's desk hours later. He called an emergency meeting. "If bioreactive energy works against them, we can use it," he said. "Every ship will be equipped with it." Engineers began working day and night. Scientists mixed human DNA with plasma fuel, creating a new type of weapon, one powered by human life itself. They called it the Pulse Core. Meanwhile, the dark machine, now known as the Origin, kept expanding. From its core, entire fleets of shadows emerged, covering the stars. Planets fell one by one. Alien races who once ignored humanity now begged for help. For the first time in history, the Galactic Council bowed to Earth's command. Humanity had become the last line of defense. Admiral Nolan spoke to the galaxy from Earth Command. "We did not start this war, but we will end it. We are humanity. We fight together, or we die together." Across the stars, millions of humans and allies prepared for battle. Ships filled the skies of every colony. The new Pulse Core weapons glowed with blue light, humming like hearts ready to fight. On the Vanguard, Ryan looked at Ilara. "We saw what it can do," he said. "That thing can destroy everything." Ilara nodded. "Then we don't just fight it. We end it where it began." They looked at the star map. The dark zone was now spreading like a wound across space. And deep inside it, the massive black machine pulsed slowly, like a sleeping god, ready to awaken again. The final war was coming. The fate of every world rested on humanity's next move, and as the fleets moved into position, a quiet voice echoed across the stars, the same ancient voice Ryan had heard before. "You were made from our fire," it whispered. "Now you burn alone."
Oh.
Ryan looked out at the darkness and whispered back, "Maybe. But we're still here." The engines flared to life, lighting the black void. The Vanguard joined the human fleet, heading straight toward the Origin. Humanity was no longer running. They were ready to fight. And when humanity fights, the galaxy trembles. The stars burned red as the final war began. The human fleet stood at the edge of the dark zone, a sea of ships glowing blue from the new pulse core weapons. Across from them, the shadows gathered like a storm. Billions of dark shapes moved together, forming waves that blocked the light of distant suns. Between both sides stood the massive black machine, the Origin. It looked like a planet made of metal and darkness, surface covered in moving lights like veins of fire. Admiral Nolan watched from the command deck of the flagship Titanus. "All units, this is it," he said calmly. "For Earth, for humanity." Across the fleet, soldiers saluted. Engines roared. The war for the galaxy began. The first wave hit. Human ships fired beams of blue plasma, cutting through the dark. The shadows fought back, sending waves of black energy that swallowed light. Explosions flashed across space, painting the void with color and death. Every second, ships vanished. Every second, new ones joined the fight. Ryan Hale piloted the Vanguard through the chaos. Alara Miles sat beside him, controlling the new pulse core weapon. "Power levels at 80%, she said. "We can't get any closer without burning the reactor," Ryan grinned. "Then let's burn it." The Vanguard dove straight into the enemy lines, firing beam after beam of living blue fire. The shadows screamed and fell apart like smoke in the wind, but the Origin didn't move. It watched. It waited. Then, suddenly, it opened. A beam of dark energy shot from its core, cutting through the fleet. Entire ships were erased in a second. Communication broke. The human line began to fall apart. Nolan's voice echoed through the comm. "Hold your ground. Protect the Vanguard. It's our only chance to reach the core." The Vanguard broke through the front lines, heading straight toward the black machine. The shadows followed like a wave of death. Alara typed commands faster, connecting the pulse core directly to the ship's engine. "If we overload it, we can release enough energy to destroy the Origin," she said. Ryan looked at her. "That'll kill us." She smiled weakly. "Someone has to light the fire." Before Ryan could answer, the ship was hit. The hull cracked, alarms screamed, and half the systems went offline. Smoke filled the cockpit. Ryan grabbed the controls. "We're not done yet." He pushed the engines to full power. The Vanguard burst forward, glowing brighter than ever. Behind them, the human fleet regrouped, following their lead. Every ship began channeling energy into one massive strike. Admiral Nolan gave the order. "All ships, link fire with the Vanguard. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. A wave of blue light crossed the galaxy. Every human ship fired at once. The Vanguard took the lead, piercing through the dark barrier and reaching the heart of the Origin. Ryan and Alara looked at each other one last time. "For humanity," she said. "For everyone," he replied. Then they pressed the final command. The pulse core exploded. The light was blinding. For a moment, everything stopped. The shadows froze midair. The black machine began to crack. From its core, a bright white light spread outward, washing across the stars. The energy wave hit the shadow fleets and burned through them, turning them to dust. It spread farther and farther until it reached the edge of the galaxy. Then silence. When the light faded, the Origin was gone. The shadows vanished. Only quiet space remained. The stars began to shine again. On Earth, sensors picked up the change. The energy wave passed harmlessly over the planet, and then all systems returned to normal. Cheers erupted across every base. The war was over. Humanity had survived, but the Vanguard was gone. Days later, Admiral Nolan stood in front of a memorial wall. Thousands of names were engraved in silver, glowing under soft light. He placed his hand over the names Ryan Hale and Alara Miles. "You saved us," he whispered, "and we'll never forget." Years passed. The galaxy slowly rebuilt. Human ships traveled freely again, and peace returned. But deep in the far corners of space, where the dark zone once was, strange lights still flickered. Some said it was only energy residue. Others believed it was something else, a spark of consciousness left behind. One night, a small exploration ship passing near the area picked up a faint signal. It was weak, almost gone, but clear enough to be heard. A human voice whispered through the static. "We're still here." And the stars trembled once more, because when humanity fights, the galaxy remembers.